at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live most Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Go ahead and support this project because Echoplex Media is listener and viewer supported programming, to the extent that we would call it programming. Just go to echoplexmedia.com and click the support tab. Best way to do it is merch or memberships at eplex.store, but you can make your own decisions once you get to our website. I'm producer Dave. I didn't watch the debate, and you can find me on Grindr.
This is the Councilman. I was late because of the debate, and you can find me on X at @THE_Councilman. You can also find me in the club.
Can I find you turning down the gain on your mic?
Oh, absolutely. It might be a little higher. How's it going?
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody listening on the podcast, if you were not sure, this is in fact live.
I just want to make sure I was coming through live and correct, you know.
Anywhere, where can people find you?
They can find me on X at THE_Councilman. You can also find me in the club, bottle full above my mouth. Got what you need if you need to feel a buzz.
I wonder when the last time it was that we could actually find you in the club.
A very long time ago. It was definitely pre-dad days, that's for sure.
If I catch a booking in the Zay though, I'll make sure that the promoter pays for you guys to get a sitter.
Oh, it's tight. Well, I mean, we could obviously as a family go to the concert we have on Leading Off here.
Oh, yikes. I'm not sure that would be a great place to bring a baby, but
hey, you never know. She's down for anything. She loves to dance, so I guess I'm guessing some disco would be right up her alley.
Yeah, for Leading Off, it looks like there was a party in San Francisco that 5,000 people went to.
Yeah, a party in my pants, and I wasn't invited. But let's find out more. It looks like a DJ Diplo was starting a run club and decided to have the first event in San Francisco. So we'll find out more.
Music Festival took over San Francisco's waterfront today.
Well, thousands showed up to run and dance with the world-famous DJ Diplo. KTVU's Betty Yu has more from the sold-out event.
We love the man. See those hands up high.
It was a dance party like no other. 13,000 runners packed the pier along the Embarcadero to dance their hearts out after finishing the first ever 5K, hosted by Diplo's Run Club.
You're fresh off Burning Man. You played 2 sets last night. You ran a 5K. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, energized, you know. I have a bunch of resources in my body, and I'm going to just keep going through life and just try to do all I can.
What was it like for you to do it here along the Embarcadero against the backdrop of San Francisco, and why San Francisco for your first stop?
This is one of the best cities in the country, but look at this locale. We had the Bay Bridge. It was foggy when we started running. We got to run through the giant stadium.
3, 2, 1,
The world-famous music artist led the pack Sunday morning. Diplo has said everywhere he performs around the world, he gets outside and runs a few miles. So he decided to start Diplo's Run Club.
There are so few DJs who are marrying music and running. You know, what is the magic in it for you?
Well, the reason I got inspired to do this event because I ended up running the half marathon in Miami, and I showed up in the club afterwards because the sunrise was happening. And I was like, this is a great experience. I'm not doing any drugs. I'm just here sober on my runner's high, enjoying the music.
Runners flew or drove in from near and far.
It's pretty inspiring. I'd say he's one of the very few, DJs who kind of promote health.
I think everyone is just in high energy, great mood, and just want to have fun.
It's awesome. It's so lit. I've never seen anything like it.
From San Francisco, Diplo's Run Club heads to Seattle next week before launching in major cities globally later this fall.
What is your fitness routine and health routine being always on the road?
Well, the good thing about running is it costs nothing. All you need is some shoes, and you can do it everywhere you go.
When do you sleep?
Like at 4 p.m. today. I'm going to go on an airplane and just pass out.
In San Francisco, Betty Yu, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
I like how he's like made sure he's like, I'm not doing any drugs, I promise.
Totally sober, 100%. No, this is fun. I think this is great. It's a great merger of lifestyles, and I think the kind of folks that would normally be at a rave all night long, right? Hopped up on a few things. Could use a nice 5K to just clear out the system and get the blood flowing, right, and just get that runner's high going. And yeah, absolutely. I think once you're done with that, why not just start bouncing around to some Diplo? That sounds great to me.
You know where you shouldn't do it? As a Phoenix in like July.
That would probably be advisable, yeah. Or I'm sorry, I should say ill-advisable. Even in September, frankly. I think I was in Phoenix 5 years ago around this very time of year we're in right now, September, and it was over 100 degrees. Oh my God.
Yep. Well, that's cool. I don't know. Not a Diplo fan myself. I don't have any DJ beef with Diplo. Just never been a big Diplo fan. Never been a fan of any other DJs besides myself, actually, because I'm that kind of guy.
I couldn't really name any other DJs besides you, producer Dave. So I'm at a loss as to who this Diplo person is. I couldn't name one of his songs.
Clearly.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay. Well,
Clearly
yeah, I couldn't name one of his like. Does he have songs? What did DJs do?
Yeah, he's a
Do you guys have
producer as
songs?
well. He's a producer as well. So he produces music and spins.
Oh, so he's produced for like the Rihannas of the world or something.
No,
like that, right? Or the
I
Lady
don't
Gagas.
know. I don't
Okay.
know. He produces dance music. So like.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'll come across
he's not Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, if that's what you're asking.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'll come across his music just like, on the PA at Chipotle when I'm having like a burrito bowl.
Definitely not.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
But at a club.
I might never
at a club.
Oh, I'll definitely never hear his music.
Anyway, what do we got for winners and losers?
So many things. As you know, there are usually no winners in winners and losers. And if there are, it's probably not the person you wanted to win anyway. But leading off winners and losers is a story that you pulled, producer Dave, about the surprise lack of affordable housing in San Francisco. We're going to dig a little bit into that with KPIX Bay Area.
And speaking of that, wherever this still is, I would very much like to be my housing.
Yes, that looks like a very fine loft. I could definitely do with that. That'd be no problem.
That would, oh man, yeah, that would be my ideal housing.
I'm assuming this is like the communal space of some apartment complex, maybe. We'll see. We'll find out more.
More days until the San Francisco mayoral debate hosted by CBS News Bay Area and our partners, KCBS Radio and the San Francisco Examiner. One of the big issues the candidates will be asked to address is affordable housing. Whether you want to own or rent, it's expensive to live in San Francisco. And according to Zillow, the average cost of a home is $1.2 million.
Ooh, compared to parts of the South Bay, that sounds like a bargain.
Yeah, right. They just put out a story the other day that San Jose is the most expensive place to get a quote unquote starter home or for a first time home buyer. So that's shocking.
And while rent for a 2-bedroom place is about $4,100 a month. And as Kenny Choi shows us, the high cost and lack of more affordable options really have some San Franciscans struggling.
Okay, now, hold on. Jesse Harris is living off retirement savings, including Social Security and a pension. He's a licensed general contractor, picking up jobs wherever and whenever he can.
I have to do this job because I only make enough money in my retirement to pay my rent.
A divorce 4 years ago forced him to move back to San Francisco, where he was born and raised. He's been on a long wait list for affordable housing.
Affordable is anywhere from $2,500, $3,000, but $4,000, I just can't afford that.
The 66-year-old is clinging to hope that he'll have a better chance in a housing lottery or move up the wait list. Karen Nemsick is Director of Housing Justice at United Way Bay Area.
We see a really huge gap between wages going up at a very low level and rent speeding up.
Nemsick defines affordable housing as tenants paying a maximum of 30% of their income on housing, whether you're a teacher, retired general contractor, or firefighter.
Sometimes things are greater than yourself. This is going to make it happen, and I'm hoping these are one of those times.
That attitude is admirable, but how long he can stay afloat is uncertain.
San Francisco has also been slow to boost the housing supply, but a new state law that's supposed to expedite the permitting process is expected to help with that.
If the community doesn't rise up against every project that uses that state law. Right? Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to
Strangely enough, on public comment, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, we found that Los Gatos is running right up against that, and that if I'm not mistaken, the time limit is passed. So you know what's going to happen in Los Gatos? Instead of like little low rises and cute little places. Oh yeah, there was a proposal to build a 14-story apartment complex that people were really fucking pissed about.
Yeah, it's called the Builder's Remedy. It's a little bit convoluted, but I'll try to break it down into a really small chunk here. Basically, every city in California, every 8 years, gets assigned a number of housing units that they will need to produce over the next 8 years in order to meet the projected demand. This is done by a state agency and regional agencies, and they apply these goals. Cities then have to craft plans that then are approved at the state level by the state to get to that goal, right? This is how we're going. This is where we can locate new housing units. This is how many we can build. This is how many will be affordable. This is how we'll do community engagement to make sure that the projects happen. All of these things, right? So every city is responsible for getting one of these, it's called their housing element, passed by the state, right, and approved. and there's a certain deadline for doing it, and it was January of, I think, last year was the deadline. So many cities, including San Jose and almost every city in Santa Clara County, blew the deadline and have been applying for.
One of the exceptions is?
Campbell, I think, was one of the early ones. Yeah,
they've exceeded it by like 20 or 30%.
Right. So so certain cities like Campbell did that. Other cities have just been playing around the margins and trying to get away with whatever they could. And the state comes back and says, no, you need to do more. And they come back and say, well, we'll do a little bit more. And they'll say, no, you need to do more. And so what ends up happening is a lot of these states are out of compliance for more than a year on their housing element. And the punishment is that during that interstitial time, developers can propose really whatever they want. It doesn't have to fit the general plan or the strategic plan of the city, right? It can be really whatever or even some of the zoning. Sometimes they can get around those laws. So now, you've got Los Gatos and other cities. Even San Jose was up against it before they got their housing element passed. There are cities where these projects have already gone through the entitlement process, or at least are in the process, right? So they have to get that exemption. They have to be able to proceed as they were. Some cities are facing projects they probably didn't envision, and their community probably isn't very excited about, especially in Los Gatos, where they, I think they had an ordinance at one time to ban anything over 2 stories in general. Not even kidding. Still exists in Saratoga. But that's the kind of communities we're dealing with, while at the same time we're trying to build more and more affordable housing. And affordable just means denser. It means higher. It means denser, especially in areas where we're already built out. We need to go up. We need to go in. So this is just how it has to happen. And there's natural friction with people who just figured they would live in a bucolic single family home community for the rest of their lives, but now they're living in a city and they got to deal with that. So that's where the friction is coming in. And it's just unfortunate that we're not getting more done for the people who actually are getting hurt by this crisis.
So at the Los Gatos meeting, this one lady that went up there, it was pretty funny. She went up there and she was like, our neighbor just around the way has already exceeded this thing. And she goes, it might be because a lot of young people live there. She goes, I don't know though. And she burned down it was an older lady too. She just burned everybody down because she was like, we've had a long time to deal with this. She's like, my neighbors keep saying they don't want these 3 and 4 story condo complexes. And now look, she's like, I'm almost glad they're just building this big thing. She's like, because now she's like, this is what you get. She almost went up there and told the people fuck around and find out, which was, I thought it was pretty fucking cool, because the other people were up there whining about it. And this old lady seemed kind of practical. Might have used to been a teacher, maybe, just the way she was talking to everybody. She was like, sure. What did you think was going to happen? And why can't we look to our neighbors who have done this right and try to do what they're doing?
Yeah. The teachers make the absolute best public commenters too, because they're on point. They know how to get in and out, make a good point, scold you without being too mean, right? But also being forceful enough to call you out and make you hear it and feel it. So God bless teachers. Yeah, this is what you get. This is absolutely what you get. And later in Downballot, on the Downballot Watch, we're going to have a story about all the things that we need to be doing to prevent and protect and help our homeless and unhoused population. And we'll see how now a crisis that has now spilled into a broader community is now prompting, solutions, right? Solutions that have been on the books and on the table for many, many years and could have been adopted for, years and years and years. And it haven't been embraced because of community resistance and NIMBYism. And now, they're becoming commonplace and they're becoming, imperatives because the crisis has risen to that level, right? It has become critical mass. And that's, I think, what you're going to see in these communities where, eventually people are going to have to give. And the more they resist, the longer they resist, the longer they hold out, the snap back, right? Or the snap up in terms of the size of buildings is going to be more pronounced, right? It could have been that we eased into this if people had just been, open to an acceptance of growth, right? Over the last 30 years, we would have eased into this and we wouldn't have a crisis. We would have demand. We would always have demand, but it would be manageable. And now the demand is so unmanageable that we have 6,000 people in Santa Clara County or in San Jose living on the street right now. So that's where we're at.
All right. Well, our next story I picked because the name is members of Castro Neighborhood Watch Group say they're seeing less crime. I got to tell you, it's members of a neighborhood watch for a very safe and very expensive neighborhood in the city say it's safe there.
Imagine that. I am shocked. Oh, hello. Sorry. I am shocked. Losing my camera here. But we'll find out more from KPIX about what's going on and what's really happening in the Castro. What's really afoot here. While I fix my camera.
For San Francisco mayor is heating up with the debate set for this Wednesday night right here on KPIX. And one of the top issues on voters' minds as they make their pick is crime. Our Lauren Toms talked to people in the Castro about their concerns.
For nearly 20 years, Greg Carey and Ken Craig have patrolled the Castro as part of one of the oldest neighborhood watch groups in the city, in partnership with police.
Ooh, that neighborhood watch group used to do something completely different than what it does now, by the way.
Do we wait until after the clip to talk about it, or do you want to talk about it now?
They used to maybe be keeping an eye on the police.
Interesting.
More than really a whole lot else that they were possibly keeping an eye on.
So keeping an eye on the cops as opposed to working with the cops to keep an eye on the comunidad.
Yeah, because they were doing neighborhood watch to make sure that people like me and maybe if I had a boyfriend didn't get beat the shit out of on our way home from the bar. So this is
by a cop
or by somebody, and when the cops were like, "Hey, check that out," and then they'd say a slur about us.
Awesome.
Safety efforts in good times and bad.
We are part of the overall solution, but the fact that all of these different groups are approaching the same problem from different perspectives is a big part of why things are working so well.
They say a slow night is a good night, and that's become a more common occurrence. Property crime across the city is down more than 35% compared to last year. That's according to SFPD. And violent crime is down more than 13%. The lowest decrease in crime is seen in the Mission, where rates are down 10.7%. And the steepest decrease is in the Richmond, where crime is down nearly 45%. And while those numbers are promising, they're not felt by all. Just a few blocks away in the outskirts of the Castro, Kevin Liu is reeling from his fourth break-in of the year. It's his seventh between his two San Francisco locations.
It's a sense of like helplessness. It's something that you didn't sign up for, right? So we're passionate about food. We love making food and we love bringing people to the tables. And we didn't sign up to be crime fighters, and this is just out of our wheelhouse.
His sense of security is shattered, but his sense of hope isn't lost.
We love the city. We want to see it come back, and we're going to fight for it.
And be sure to catch the debate this Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. KPIX is partnering with the San Francisco Examiner and KCBS Radio. It's going to be.
I think I know where that guy's shop is, and I think I've done cocaine like on the bench in front of his shop before, like fucking 3 a.m.
You are part of the problem, producer Dave. The crimes.
No, it's just good community fun for everyone, and it was like 20 years ago. But I think I know exactly where that shop is. It used to be like kind of a coffee shop, sort of breakfasty spot.
Okay. Well, I don't know. It seems to me that from what all I'm hearing, and this backs up everything we've been talking about, that crimes, are not a thing, right? Really, like not a going concern, despite what we hear and see and talk about the doom loop and the stories we see. But really, it just seems like those are just sort of regurgitation thing where you just see the same story over and over again. And you think that there's a problem, but really, the data shows that crime is actually down, and yet people still don't want to believe it, right? Like the facts are there. Where have we heard this before, producer Dave? I just heard this on the debate. The facts are all there. The data's all there. And yet, no, it can't possibly be true, right? That can't possibly be happening. That's not what's going on. I know what's going on because I'm looking out my window.
Well, there's first of all, like just crime in cities has always kind of been like that, right? There's always going to be, there's always people who think that that the city is scary. Most of them don't live in the city. But then like the local news has their part to play because they sensationalize crime.
Yeah.
And then like the internet has a part to play too, because people with their own entrenched interests probably want to tell you that crime is violent crime and property crime are on the uprise no matter what.
Yeah. And it's I think everyone's really trying to, forward their own narrative, whatever it means to them, right? Like the business owners will say, well, crime is up and our city's going to hell, and that's why my business is down, right? Not because they're not doing a good job of doing business, right? Or because the economy sucks. No, it's because crimes, and it's because the homeless are on their street and they built a bike lane down the middle of their road, right? There's always something else that's causing their problem. So that I think you're hearing, that's what we hear about a lot. And I'm not always going to be I don't want to be a slave to the data either, right? The data doesn't always tell the full story. Of course, we know that. You have to read between the lines. But I think what we try to push back here on this network, and what we really try to focus on, is cutting down on the rhetoric, cutting down on the BS, and cutting through the BS of people just advancing their own narrative without any real basis in fact or data or any kind of reality. They're just trying to form their own reality, and that's I'm really glad we are here to debunk that for folks, at least for the one listener who downloads our podcast every week.
So I also want to mention that when they talk about like businesses that are going under, it's always a restaurant, and that's the business that goes
business
under.
Of restaurants. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough game.
The percentages on restaurant survival and success rates are just abysmal. It's like 3% get beyond like the first 3 years, which is in any industry. That'd be horrible. But it's a really difficult industry. But you can't blame the wins or whatever and the ups and downs of crime in your neighborhood. There are bigger things at play than that.
Well, speaking of crime, we're going to move on to San Jose. Apparently, they hit up a sports bar called The Office, which doesn't sound like a sports bar, but whatever.
It didn't when I first went there, and then when I went there, I realized, wow, this is a sports bar, but it's called The Office. I was expecting something totally different. I figured I would be in there. It's nearby to a local labor council and some unions, and I figured, okay, this is like a place where the bros and the handlebars go to hang out after their shifts, right, and talk about The Office, right? But no, definitely not. So we'll find out more.
To me, it sounds like a place where the HR director takes you out for a drink and then fires you.
It actually had that kind of vibe when I got in there. It was very like superficial and very it was almost like a staged bar. I almost felt like I was on a sound stage for a bar, right? It didn't feel like an actual bar. And maybe that was because the remodel was just very, very low rent and very just cheesy. But anyway, we'll find out more and we'll hear from the owner and we'll see what's really going on here. This is on the outskirts of Willow Glen, by the way, so watch out. Crime is coming to the most bucolic neighborhoods of our city.
Well, as you might know, it's a busy time of year for sports bars, football almost every night of the week. And for the South Bay bar, kickoff isn't going as planned after an early morning break-in caused thousands of dollars worth of damage to the property. NBC's Pete Serratos has the details.
The Office in Willow Glen is a popular destination to watch NFL football, or as bar owner Keon.
Like when they said popular destination, you looked and there were like two dudes at the bar.
Cheers for Willow Glen, I'd say. Everyone knows each other here.
But as 49ers fans take
I didn't get that vibe.
Tonight's game. Repairs are taking place following an early morning break-in, with burglars stealing roughly $1,000 and causing more than $20,000 worth of damage. It's not exactly the way Keon wanted to kick off the NFL season.
Violated, honestly. I feel like someone ransacked my house. This is my business. It's my livelihood.
According to San Jose PD, the suspects broke into the business just before 4 this morning. Surveillance video shows the suspects inside of the bar, faces covered, and one of them wearing a security shirt. You can see them searching for items behind the bar before going into another room where they locate and steal a safe, removing it from the bar and driving away from the scene. For regular customers, they feel the incident is a sign of the times.
To be perfectly honest, it's happening all over the place nowadays. I don't know how we get a handle on it. I think maybe we need to police ourselves.
For Keon,
don't do that, friend.
And plans to upgrade.
What does that mean?
With license plate readers and more cameras.
We'll get back. It's just a little blow, but we'll make it better.
Police are still looking for the suspects. If you have any information to help with the case, contact San Jose PD. In San Jose, Pete Serratos, NBC Bay Area News.
So what we don't want is that guy at the bar doing a vigilanteism. That's really what we don't want.
Yeah, I'm really curious what he means by police ourselves. Like, we can assume what that means, but I'd love to hear his description of what that means. Again, just a friendly reminder, these things happen in Willow Glen, but these folks exist in Willow Glen. These folks exist everywhere. So don't think because you live in some sort of quote unquote progressive bubble that these folks don't live right next door to you. They do. and we have guns, and you should definitely fear them.
So the security sweatshirt or jacket, I figured out immediately, like clicked in my mind. It's like, oh, it looks like you're supposed to be there. That's why you do that in a jacket that says security.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably why they have it. And maybe this was an inside job. Who knows? But either way, they knew about security because they got in and they got out and they didn't get caught. So It doesn't look like they have any leads or anything like that. So anyway, speaking of not getting caught, folks got caught growing a little bit of the ganj up in Antioch. We covered this last week, I think. And it looks like there was originally an Oakland PD officer who was embroiled in the situation and might have been involved in the situation somehow, but apparently they are not going to be charged in this situation. And we're going to find out more about why not and who not from KTVU.
A police officer will not be charged in connection to a cannabis control raid at a home that he owns in Contra Costa County. KTVU's Jana Katsuyama is joining us now live from Martinez at the district attorney's office with more on this legal decision and also a growing pot problem in one East Bay city. Jana?
Well, the DA's office tells me that they just didn't have enough evidence to charge that officer. His house, when we went by today, was up for sale along with others that were involved in the state agents' raids. And the agents say that they're just really concerned about the connection.
Leave the weed in the house when you sell it.
Between some of these illegal grow houses here and larger rings of organized crime.
Well, we were shocked. I mean, it happened at 7 o'clock in the morning when they did the raid and everything. So just didn't expect it here.
They invaded the home, and to our surprise, it was a grow house.
Neighbors say it was a shock when state agents raided 3 homes on Sierra Trail Way in Antioch last April. Behind the doors of these $1 million suburban homes, the Department of Cannabis Control found this. This video they shared shows an extensive illegal marijuana cultivation operation, mature plants filling bedrooms.
Those are not mature plants.
Of chemicals strewn in parts of the homes, boarded up windows, and faulty electrical wiring that officials say created dangerous conditions for fire and safety risks. At another house just doors away, agents say they found trash bags containing 80 pounds of cannabis flowers worth about $132,000. That property was listed as belonging to an Oakland police officer, Samson Liu.
We were having rolling blackouts, and those 3 houses was the only house on the block that wasn't dark. They PG&E stayed on, so I was a little curious about that.
The Contra Costa County.
Oh man, he's teaching people how to narc out fucking grow houses.
I was a little suspicious.
Complaint for misdemeanor charges in June, but decided not to charge the Oakland police officer due to, quote, the lack of sufficient evidence needed to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. State agents said they believe that Liu was renting out the home to someone else. Oakland police confirmed Liu was placed on administrative leave, but declined an interview. What might surprise people is agents say this is common. Commander Kevin McInerney with the Department of Cannabis Control says Antioch has been a hub of illegal grow houses since 2021.
It's very typical of what we see. Yeah, in the East Bay area, we find thousands of plants and hundreds of pounds of product on a regular basis. We've served 87 search warrants in Contra Costa County and 52 of them in the city of Antioch. And this is very typical of what we find.
California has only 76 cannabis control officers for the state, and investigators say the grow houses are part of a larger problem, often tied to organized crime rings.
And when it comes to cannabis, they move it the same way they move everything else. UPS, FedEx, all the common carriers.
We requested some data from the district attorney's office, and they say that they have charged 15 cases that have been sent to them by the Department of Cannabis Control. 7 of them were in the city of Antioch. We reached out to Officer Liu and his attorney, but so far we've not received any reply. Alex.
Yeah, incredible to see that footage of how those homes are transformed into growing operations. Jana Katsuyama, live in Martinez for us. Jana, thank you.
It's not amazing. I would never do that, but I could do that in a if I had a carpenter and an electrician, I could do that in 3 days.
Yeah, no problem. It's done. That's what they do. They move from house to house. They find places where they can do it. They cultivate, they get their shit, they get out, and usually they're gone before most people realize, before neighbor who has his keen eye on which house to stay light during a power outage is on the scene, right? But most times they're in and out, but without you even knowing. Like I said before, crimes could be happening next door, and you may not know about it. But to be honest with you, would it be the biggest problem in the world if you had a grow house next door? I mean, come on. If you found out, who needs to go to the cops, really? Just sell that
so
stuff.
it is possible, I guess, that we don't know enough about the owner of the house. Like, for all we know, the owner of the house rented it out via a property management company or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. But it gets down to, so the cop was the property owner. This is coming down to like, okay, how do you assess standing and responsibility, right? And I don't know what the law says, frankly, about, okay, so you own the property, you rent the property out, and your renters do crimes, right? So are you responsible because it's your property, or are the renters responsible because they're renting the property from you legally? Like, what's the, and who knows, like maybe you're renting the property under the table, right? And they're paying you cash. There's no contract. So aren't you liable as the property owner for whatever's going on there, since you're not technically renting it out to anyone? There's no tenants, right? So there's some gray area here, and I don't know how much he's on leave, but I don't know how much he's skating by with, because it's in a house that he owns. He's a cop. Like, I don't know. You feel like you'd have a property manager at least who would be checking in on the property, right? And seeing what, going by occasionally and seeing what's happening. I don't know. But then again, this is Antioch. It's a fucking Wild West there, apparently.
Well, and this is a very different situation than, for example, Ghost Ship, where it was quite the Ghost Ship rave venue, where it was quite clear what was going on there, and that there was no the woman or family that owned that place had to know what was going on.
They knew very well what was going on. Yeah, they knew intimately what was going on. It was proven in court. So I'm surprised that this is not even like, it's not even a situation where he was like acquitted, right? Where they went through a process. Like, he is not going to be charged. Like, they don't have, the DA says, and this is, Pamela Price, or no, I'm sorry, this is Contra Costa, never mind, different DA, but the DA said that we don't have enough. So maybe the DA is complicit with the cops here. I don't know, but we don't have enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he did crimes. It seems like there's enough reasonable doubt to go to trial, but they make decisions based on budgets these days, I think, on how many cases they actually prosecute. And when you're talking about prosecuting a cop, the likelihood of success, like if you're not 100% certain that you're going to convict, right? Maybe they're making the prudent decision by not prosecuting, right? And they're protecting everyone, the taxpayers' money too, right? But it sucks, is making it suck any less. But then again, it's like, if it's this, I can kind of, whatever. I'm agnostic on a cop having a illegal grow house in his, in a home that he owns. I'm more concerned with cops like, shooting people in the general public and choking people out and killing.
Well, there's never enough evidence to prosecute them in those cases.
Right. But I'm more concerned about finding the evidence and prosecuting those cases than worrying about a cop who wants to have a grow house in his rental home, whatever. If it burns down the neighborhood, it burns down the neighborhood. They can sue.
So speaking of Antioch, apparently the Antioch mayor is taking a shot at Oakland and San Francisco about homelessness. Let's see if, because so far I've been sort of on the Antioch mayor's side, and I have a funny feeling about this clip.
Let's go for it.
We will not be a dumping ground. That's the message Antioch's mayor is sending to other Bay Area cities tonight as Antioch faces an increase in their homeless population. Antioch's mayor is pointing the finger at San Francisco and Oakland specifically. NBC Bay Area's Joda Hernandez has the story.
It's scary, and you better not walk on it at nighttime. You really might be afraid.
Dolores Brown says the rise in homeless encampments in the city of Antioch has her feeling frustrated and scared.
If you go out walking, you're afraid to walk down the trails because you don't know if one of them going to attack you or whatever.
Folks in Antioch say the homeless situation has never been worse. Antioch's unsheltered population has risen 24%, according to the county's recent count, making it the city with the most unhoused residents in Contra Costa County.
We shouldn't have encampments at our trails and in our waterways because that poses a public threat. That's not right.
Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez Thorpe met with reporters this morning to highlight steps the city is taking, like considering strengthening its no camping ordinance and expanding its program aimed at converting hotels into transitional housing. But the mayor also also took aim at Oakland and San Francisco.
Don't push people into our communities and expect us to be the dump site for all of your problems. That's not fair and it's not right.
Mayor Hernandez Thorpe says he believes the unsheltered are moving to Antioch from bigger cities as those cities clear them out.
All you got to do is drive around to see the new RVs that are coming to Antioch. We all know where they're coming from. They're coming from other cities that are deliberately pushing people out.
A spokesperson from the San Francisco mayor's office tells NBC Bay Area San Francisco isn't sending people to Antioch.
That's right. Last week we heard the homeless saying they were sending them to San Pablo. Isn't that correct?
Yes, and they were coming to San Francisco because of all the wonderful services that they provide for homeless people.
Leaders are doing their best to help those without homes, providing showers, clothing, and support. In Antioch, Jody Hernandez, NBC Bay Area News.
I mean, he's probably not wrong.
Yeah, but not until I don't know if it's like San Francisco and Oakland's fault, right? Necessarily. Like this is one of those ones where this is one of those situations where show me the data. Like, have you gone out and talked to these folks? Where are they from? Where are they coming from? This actually took a turn when I watched it away from what the headline prompted me to think it was about. To me, it was just sort of like, Antioch's taking a lot of hits, but hey, the mayor's like, but you guys have bigger problems. You're not dealing with your homeless population, right? And we're just dealing with our cops and our grow houses and our racist cops, our grow houses, and our homeless population.
And our grow houses run by probably racist cops.
And our grow houses run by racist cops, but you guys are even worse because you don't handle your shit with unhoused people. That's what I thought it was going to be about. This is like he's blaming them deliberately for Antioch's problem, and I can't, as much as I like to pile on SF and Oakland and give them a bunch of shit, I can't possibly get on board with that. This is obviously playing the blame game. It's like, what is the point of this right now, right? Is it to deflect from the fact that your city has so many fucking issues, right? Is it just to have one news cycle where it's about someone else, but it's still about you? So I can't, as much as I want to respect Mayor Lamar, I can't get on board with this line of messaging, because at some point you got to look in the mirror, or just do something. You've got people who are, okay, fine. People are coming to Antioch now, right? Just like they're coming to every community, frankly, because there's just no room anymore for everyone else, right? They have to go somewhere. They're coming to Antioch. What are you going to do about it? Like, instead of bitching about it and telling San Francisco and Oakland to clean up, to get their shit together, why don't you get your shit together and go out and try and help these people and do something for them, right? Provide a safe haven for them. Make Antioch a bastion, a shining beacon or whatever on the fucking hill, right? For our unhoused and all the downtrodden of the world, right? And take this, these racist cops that you have and turn it around and say, we're going to have the most, equitable, culturally sensitive police department in the country, right? Because of this, right? And clean house. He clean house there, so clean house here. Just go out and help these people. Don't bitch about them coming to your city. It's kind of like, it's akin to Donald Trump a little bit, talking about the rapists and pet eaters and all the people that he thinks are coming into this country, that we're letting into the country. Like, it's the same thing. From my perspective, there's not a lot of difference between those two messages. So yeah, just why don't you turn it around and just help people, as opposed to bitching about where they come from or who's foisting them upon you. Like, help them.
And you had said get your shit together in there. Apparently, we got somebody actually getting their shit together.
Oh, did I accidentally segue us into the next part of our show? Oh, that was fabulous. Cheers to me. Oh, wait, shit. I'm out of beer. Well, whatever. I drank it too fast. Yeah. So this week on Get Your Shit Together, you probably know that, AI is coming. AI is here. Deepfakes are here, right? There's probably a video.
Deepfakes are here, but the AI pictures are like of a veteran with fucking 3 legs and an American flag hat that looks a little bit weird, and it says, why doesn't this image ever trend? Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji.
So there's a local entrepreneur who's trying to combat the use of deepfakes and help protect us all from them. So we're going to learn a little bit more in a deeper dive here from KPIX.
The 2024 presidential election is unprecedented in a number of ways, including the most advanced use of AI to try and trick voters and maybe even poll workers. Lauren Tom spoke with industry experts about the threats this technology presents heading into November and what's being done to try and counteract it.
You're probably wondering how I ended up here or here. And the truth is, I didn't. These are deepfakes made just by using my LinkedIn photo, and Lucas Hansen is trying to spread the word of this technology's potential harm.
When you see something that makes your enemy look bad, even if you're not sure if it's true, it can enrage you pretty seriously.
It's a strategy we're already seeing play out in the 2024 election cycle.
There's something particular about images and video that just short circuits to the emotions of your brain. People have been writing inflammatory text on the internet for as long as the internet has existed, but it just didn't have the same effect. When you see an image or a video, it feels real, even if you kind of know that it's not.
And through nonprofit Civ AI, Lucas is trying to educate people about deepfakes and how easy it is to persuade people.
Part of what we want to do is education, not just to prepare people for the things that are happening, but so that society can collectively make this decision instead of it being something that happens in an office somewhere in Palo Alto.
And lawmakers are one step closer to adding protections. Last week, state legislation was approved that will require online platforms to remove deceptive content like deepfakes and AI-generated images in the lead up to an election. But it won't take effect until 2025. And experts like Professor Ahmed Banafa say the speed of AI development is moving too fast for regulation to catch up.
I'm really concerned about it because this, level of AI can do magic. Can actually create certain situation, pictures, events. It could be done at the right moment, right before a major event, and at least it's gonna create some kind of confusion, chaos, just to make sure that this is really the impact of that event.
For Lucas, he's hoping we can get ahead of the curve by showing people just how real fake content is impacting us.
When this content is going to be used to try to trick or misinform people, then it's important that people know that they ought to be skeptical when they're looking at an image. That's just in order to operate in this world. That's now something, it's sort of like you can't believe everything that you read on the internet. It's a similar sort of thing.
Turning technology that tricks the mind into a tool to combat the fakes.
Now, back in February, the FCC ruled robocalls using AI-generated voices are illegal under federal telecoms law, opening the door to fines and lawsuits against violators. At the same time, the Biden administration is continuing to try and crack down on Russia's attempt to influence the 2024 election. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced charges this week against 2 Russian officials with the state-controlled media outlet RT, claiming
I've been looking into that one.
Disinformation to garner support for former President Donald Trump.
The American people were informed when a foreign power engages in political activities or seeks to influence public discourse.
Russia has used the past several years to refine their tactics, to enhance their impact, and identify new ways to reach an American audience to sway the election.
Both suspects remain at large overseas, and in a statement to CBS News, RT calls the allegations, quote, scaremongering.
So they should have separated that out into a different story, like a different segment.
Yeah, they could have broken out into a couple different things there, but regardless, it's something to be aware of. I don't know how much it's interesting to me. I don't know. I'm sure that the folks who are trying to police or regulate this are challenged. Because how do you regulate something like this, right?
You can't.
You can't really, right? It's almost impossible. So the best you can do, I think, is sort of the reverse engineer and just work on things like we do, debunking, fact checking, pushing out correct information, confronting disinformation wherever you see it, and just calling it out wherever you see it, right? And trying to spread the facts as much as possible. That's really the only way you can counter it. You can't stop it. you shouldn't play along, but you can't let it go either. So you've got to figure out a way to alert people to the facts, get them to recognize, educate people to the point, young people especially, to the point where they can recognize this shit as it's being played out in front of them. Because I know, man, I don't mean to be an old dude, right? But old people are just as susceptible to this shit as anyone else. But I think most people, like, they just, especially as you're younger, right? You read you get an email, or you get a text, or you get any kind of communique, and you read the first thing, and that's all you read. That's all that really resonates. You read the first line, that's it, and you don't really read in depth or learn much in depth. It seems like these days, you just sort of want whatever the top line thing is, and generally, if that's the sexier thing, if the AI, if the deep fake is the sexier thing, the first impression, right? They're going to go for that. They're going to bite for that. And they're not going to read deeper. They're not going to look deeper for those data, the numbers, the facts, the deeper anecdotes, not just the superficial anecdotes. And that's going to hurt us in the long run, because we're just going to have a population that's more susceptible to being duped and less discerning of.
And the other side of this too is it
absorbing.
Creates doubt about content that's real, right? Like if there's a real video of somebody, they can say, "Oh, that's a deep fake."
Right, exactly. Yeah, it calls into question all the content we're consuming and how we're consuming it too, right? And even me, like I'm not gonna. I saw those pictures that the reporter included there. I'm like, fine. At first glance, that could have been her. Sure. I don't know.
But after first glance, you'd be like, "Why was that reporter arrested?" Wait a minute. Let me take a look at this picture. You're like, "Oh,
right. Let me think about this for a second.
Her skin isn't that perfect. Come on."
Right. And in that regard, the CEO dude, who I think he's been involved in a couple different entrepreneurial endeavors in recent years, including one to help teachers get housing and some other things. So he's a serial entrepreneur, but he did have a really good point in that even if in the back of your mind that you might be looking at something that's not real, the fact that it's visual, it's video, it's visceral, it has a sense of reality to you, right? It gets you to question reality. And that's really what they want. They don't necessarily need you to believe the thing that you're seeing. They just need you questioning it. They need you questioning it to the point where you question systems, political systems, voting systems, public systems, planning, building, code enforcement systems, right? They get you questioning all of these things because their intent is to just tear it all down. Right. And to disenfranchise all of it, and to disincentivize all of it, and just destroy government and have it be a free-for-all anarchy, winner takes all, whoever dies with the most toys wins. That's the kind of world that they're trying to establish. And they're pretty well on their way there, because we live in a capitalist society. So there's some inherent disadvantages to what we want to do. But that's really what they're going for. They just want to sow misinformation to the point where you don't know what to believe anymore, and you'll just believe whatever they say.
What was that from 1984? They're don't believe your eyes or your ears, and that was their final command. I'm butchering the.
You're right. Yeah,
the quote, but it's pretty predictive of the. It was pretty predictive of the future.
Yeah, no, you're very astute, and you're paraphrasing it well. And there was a great film, a Terry Gilliam film called Brazil, where.
I love that film because it was like the book 1984, except nothing worked.
Right, on steroids, right? And just posters like, if you see something, say something, or mind that parcel, right? It could be a terrorist. And in that world, it actually found that the government was the ones that were sponsoring the terrorists that were ostensibly terrorizing their own government and their own people. Right. But they do it to consolidate power. Right, like we're protecting you from these people who are funding to terrorize you. So believe in us, trust us, because if it wasn't for us, you'd be killed by them. But we're actually funding them.
But we're actually them. Yeah.
And the notion that does not happen in reality in our world is very naive. If you don't think that's not actually happened, hasn't happened before, the CIA, even our own government doing these things, then check out the history.
So we're going to move on to Down Ballot Watch. Not a lot of recall news this week, it looks like. But we got the former mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf. All things considered, she's still, even with this $20,000 fine for her election problem, she's like, not really in a big hurry to switch places with the current mayor of Oakland.
Yeah, you can you can have that that job. That seems fine. I'm moving on. But yeah, we're gonna find out a little more about what's going on here. Some of this is a little bit probably overblown. Like fines are fines. It happens, people. But $20,000 in fines is a lot. So we'll find out more from this story from ABC 7.
Former Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf is facing tens of thousands of dollars in fines for violations of city elections law. Schaaf, who is currently running for state treasurer, is one of several people wrapped up in an investigation by the Public Ethics Commission. A proposed settlement agreement lays out the allegations running from 2018 to 2022. Investigators say that Schaaf secretly controlled campaign committees trying to defeat incumbent city council members and a ballot measure. They say she failed to disclose her involvement, which violates Oakland election rules. Ethics investigators recommended that Schaaf pay more than $20,000 in fines. Schaaf's attorney says the mayor was acting on incorrect legal advice. He told us in a statement, quote, Mayor Schaaf sincerely and reasonably believed she was following the law. Her actions were motivated by improving Oakland and helping its children.
Were you the lawyer that gave her the bad advice?
No, this is what's called detrimental reliance. This is a legal term where you have an attorney, you have an attorney who's given you advice and you relied on it to your detriment, right? Because they misinterpreted the law or they were not clear on the law. And a lot of times,
there could be ways in which you acquire an attorney who you know that you can nudge in certain ways to sort of do like mental gymnastics to tell you that what you're doing is legal.
Correct. What's really interesting, though, is that as a city official or as a candidate for city office, if you approach the city clerk or the city attorney or whoever's really responsible for overseeing these laws and regulations, and you ask them for their advice and to say, like, hey, I think this means this. Does this mean this? Can I do this? They will tell you like their opinion of what they think the law says, but they will not. They'll be very, very clear. This is not legally binding. We are not giving you legally binding information. And then you're on your own, basically. If you fuck up, it's on you. And
right.
To me,
the law says the law says this, and my interpretation is that what you're telling me is probably within the scope of the law. But what you need is your own attorney.
Right. And the funny thing is, these are the people that administer the law, right? So if anything, like they're the final arbiter of what the law is other than the courts. So if they're not willing to tell you or able to give you accurate factual information, your attorney's not going to be able, your private attorney's not going to be able to do it because they're reading the laws that the clerk and the city attorney are the ones overseeing, right, and enforcing. So yeah, that's always bugged me to no end. So I do give the former mayor, some benefit of the doubt and some grace here, because there are a lot of things that you can run afoul of without even realizing it, simply because you misinterpreted very obtuse campaign laws, and the city does nothing to actually help you avoid breaking the law. In fact, it almost seems like they're encouraging you or want you to break the law because it means more fines that they can then spend to pay their salaries. I mean, that's all I can think at this point. And to just like more fines and more investigations to justify their existence, right, as these officials. So they have a job to do, apparently. And I God bless public servants, but sometimes I think that they lose their way in this convoluted mess around elections because politics just makes people fucking weird.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, I guess the best you can do in that case is, if you're unsure, ask as many people as you can and try to cover your ass. And if you're unsure, don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, there's not. To be honest, I mean, I guess the fines are the fines. I don't know how they got to these fines, the level of it, but it's not, to me, this is not that kind of a situation that rises to the extreme level where she failed to disclose that she was helping to raise money or was supporting. So I don't know. It just seems like a very simple mistake that could be rectified with a small fine and a slap on the wrist and just, I'm not going to do it again. Oh, thank you for clarifying the law for me. So that's why it just seems like this is punitive, or like someone must have complained who doesn't like the former mayor. That happens a lot. It's a complaint-driven system.
Maybe the current mayor.
Could be. Someone filed a complaint against her to make her, or maybe her treasurer opponent. She's running for state treasurer. Doesn't look so great that she, violated election finance law, right? So it could be one of her opponents or her supporter of her opponent who has filed this complaint and has caused this investigation in the first place. I can tell you this, most often, it's not the like the city elections ethics committee or officials or the state's Fair Political Practices Commission that are like out there investigating and uncovering these problems and these mistakes and these violations. It's absolutely complaint driven. They don't know until someone complains, and who would complain except your opponent, right? Or that, like, we had this with, I think, the Ann Ravel complained about Evan Lowe, right? She's like, oh, I'm just a private citizen who's, a former FEC chair who's concerned about the rule of law and democracy. And that's why it's not because I'm endorsing Sam Liccardo or because I'm a big campaign donor of his. That's not at all what the case is. That's generally what it is, right? It's almost never John Q. citizen, Jane Q. citizen who's just wanting to uphold the law and is so upset that this person has violated it because they spent the time to research it and uncover this violation of the law because they have so much time to do that, right? It's almost never that. It's always politics. So again, I give her some grace for that, understanding that's probably what's going on here. But apparently she did break the rules, so she should have some recourse.
My understanding is she lives up in Montclair and ain't hurting for the money. So
yeah, no, it wouldn't even come from her necessarily. It might come from like campaign funds, right? Because this is a campaign violation. So yeah, I think that she's not hurting, and it's she'll get past this. It's just another blip. But again, like you said, it was a slow news week on Down Ballot. So.
All right. So up next, we got San Jose is looking to expand the county's non-police crisis response effort. This could be good. But Mayor Ed 209. So I'm concerned with this.
Yes. Let's learn more from NBC Bay Area.
Happening today in the South Bay, new help may be coming when it comes to responding to people in crisis.
Today in the Bay's Bob Riddell joining us live this morning. And Bob, there's a big vote taking place later today, right?
Correct. Later this afternoon, good morning to Marcus and Laura. The San Jose City Council could vote to expand non-law enforcement crisis response for people who are having mental health or substance abuse crises. This would be an expansion of Santa Clara County's Trusted Response Urgent Support Team, or TRUST for short. It launched in November of 2023, is intended to de-escalate situations without police involvement. Although the teams trained in behavioral health do have the authority to place people on a 72-hour hold for their own safety. If the city council agrees, the city would commit up to $450,000 for a one-year period. But San Jose Mayor Mahan tells us there are strings attached.
The county has to provide annual reporting on how many calls, how long was the wait time, how many times was the team deployed to the field, and what were the outcomes of those calls. So there has to be measurement and transparency and accountability to ensure that people are actually getting help.
The mayor also says that the team has to be up and running out in the field by next spring, or the city will pull its $450,000 of funding, again, assuming that this passes city council this afternoon. Reporting live, Bob Riddell, today in the Bay.
But that's like less than half $500,000. What do they think that, what kind of leverage are they going to, that ain't shit.
Not in the terms of like a $2 billion city budget and I forget how many hundreds of millions of dollars in the general fund. But yeah, it's a blip. And it's something that the community has overwhelmingly called for and been very clear about wanting to at least look into and try. So yeah, it just doesn't seem to me like a very difficult ask in the first place. I did like the crew rolling in the van in that promotional video. It looked like the mental health Avengers.
Right, that was cool.
Like, we are coming to help.
And by the way, I don't want to be misunderstood here. The people that are doing that work are doing difficult work and sometimes dangerous work.
God, yeah. Oh, 100%. They're doing like they say God's work, right? But that really is God's work. Like that, it is thankless. It can be painful. It can be dangerous. And they're doing it because they care, and they really do care about people, and they want to help people. And sometimes people don't want to be helped. We know that in certain situations, that's exactly the kind of people they're going to help, are the people that don't necessarily even know that they need help. And I would so much rather those Avengers coming to the scene than a uniformed cop with a gun or a taser or whatever, right? I'd so much prefer them to be, even if they didn't have training in how to deal with mental health crises, I would much prefer a member of the general public rolling up in a van, or crew rolling up in a van with an intent of de-escalating and resolving the situation, rather than a cop whose first instinct is typically to like shoot first and ask questions later.
Right. Just, hey, neighbors, what's going on here?
Yeah. Right. What's up? How you doing? Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, bro. I totally get it. Let's talk. Oh, me? No, I'm cool. I'm chill. I'm a badge, no gun. We're just friends here. Like, that seems so much more reasonable, and that's probably why the general public is calling for it, because the general public occasionally does call for reasonable things like, gun control and abortion rights and all these things. So occasionally the people do have it right. And I think in this case they do. And I really hope that the mayor Ed 209 embraces this and doesn't like try to make excuses for why we shouldn't try these things and why we should, put more cops in the street, because that's what his constituents and the people that voted for him want, is more cops. They think that's the solution.
Speaking of Mayor Ed 209, it looks like he's supporting something that he did not support when he was a city council person.
Yeah, I'll tell you more about that on the flip side, but we'll learn about what's happening right now, and then we can talk about what has happened in the past.
A controversial proposal is about to get a real-world test in the South Bay. San Jose will open its first ever safe sleeping site. It's a place where the city will put up tents so the unhoused can come out of makeshift encampments and sleep in a city-sanctioned safe area. The site, though, comes with some rules. NBC Bay Area's Damien Trujillo is at Watson Park to explain.
This will be a pilot program for now, with hopes of initiating it at the beginning of next year. The mayor says it's worked in San Diego and is optimistic it'll work here as well.
This is becoming a common sight. Police responding to the creek behind Watson Park for a disturbance call near an encampment. The mayor says the park has been problematic.
We had a lot of neighbors come out and say that they just didn't feel safe in their park anymore.
But a new program aims to change that. On a walking tour today, the mayor showed us a piece of land the city is leasing next to Watson Park to put in what he calls a safe sleeping site. Perhaps 100 tents where the unhoused could gather and stay for an extended period. Priority will be given to the unhoused who already live in the same neighborhood, with the goal of ultimately providing the tools those people need to get off the street.
They can start to focus on drug treatment, job training, reconnecting with family, just basically stabilizing and starting to turn their lives around.
At least one park visitor likes the idea.
Yeah, anything to support the homeless.
There will be security.
I like her.
And there are rules for those who use
dog owner.
No drugs or weapons. And if you don't accept the offer, you can't camp within a 2-block radius.
I think we need to start to ban camping in the areas around these sites and say, look, you've got an option. Here's a safe place you can go, but you can't just choose to camp wherever you like.
The Roosevelt Park Neighborhood Association nearby is also on board and asks those who oppose the site to at least give it a chance.
I'm extremely pleased, and I hope people will look at it before they automatically reject it, saying, not in my neighborhood.
Ultimately, city leaders say they hope to create as many as 5 sleeping sites across the city. The mayor says this is not a cure-all to homelessness, but could be another rung on the ladder that ultimately helps everyone climb out of the long-running crisis. At Watson Park in San Jose, Damien Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
I'm sorry, why weren't places like this available the whole time?
Oh, God. What time is it? Do you have to do public comment tonight? By the way, everyone stay tuned for public comment after Downballot.
Shasta, too.
Oh, Shasta, even better. God, I wish I could stay on. Well, again, the long story short, it wasn't really until, all right, when the councilman, when I first started coming on this network, when I was running for office, right, Producer Dave, this was 8 years ago now, this issue was still not considered a crisis situation. The housing shortage, lack of affordable housing, our homelessness population was not considered a going concern even then, to the point where I was at a forum sponsored by a housing group, right, that ran shelters and dealt with this issue. And someone asked, what would you think about a sanctioned encampment, which is what this is. It's a sanctioned encampment, right? This has been happening in, like they said, in San Diego, in Seattle. Other cities have successfully implemented these. And they do work, and we've even had council members from San Jose go and stay in them overnight, right, and experience them to get a sense of them. At that forum, I was asked, the candidates were asked, what would you think about a sanctioned encampment in your district? And I grew up in Willow Glen, and like Tony, White Willow Glen. But I said, you know what? I live there, and I would be totally fine. This is something that I think is necessary. I do believe it's a rung on the ladder. I think it's necessary. I think it's something that would be beneficial, and I'd be happy with having this right behind my home, on my block. Right, I'd be totally cool with it. It was on my back fence. I'm fine with that. And I didn't think much. I mean, that's who I am. That's where my values are. That's what I believed. And then 2 days later, I was out knocking doors in the Willow Glen community, and I came across a voter who told me that, oh, it was great to meet you. I thought you were great. I read your mailer and I read your website, and I thought you were, I was absolutely going to vote for you. And then I read the story about you saying you wanted a homeless encampment behind your house in Willow Glen. And I said, well, I can't get on board with that. And that was pretty much it for her and many voters. And the councilman was not successful. So even as recently as 8 years ago, we were not treating this like a crisis. And yet this issue, this very specific issue about sanctioned encampments, was very real. It was an option. It was something that was talked about. There was even a council member, and I don't mean to be biased, but a colleague, friend, who had been elected a couple years before I ran, who had multiple times brought this issue forward. We need to look into doing this. We need to look into exploring these sanctioned encampments and quote unquote safe sleeping sites, up to the point where he termed out of office, 2 years ago. And in his last year in office, put it forward again. He had tried a couple times to get it moving. No one else in the council, not one other council member, would back him up and take him up on it and back up and join him in calling for this. Not one. And even to his last year in office, 2 years ago, he called for this again. He brought this forward again. And there was a vote at the committee that decides what goes before the council. And Mayor Ed209, as a council member, was on that committee and voted against even hearing it at the city council level, even taking it to the city council level. And now that he's mayor and he was elected on the premise of he's going to clean up the homeless for his friends in Almaden and Blossom Valley, now he's the one championing this. He's the one that's calling for it. He's the one that thinks it's a good idea. He's the one that wants to get the credit for it. I'm sorry, but F you, Mayor Ed 209. I'm so sorry. It's not your victory to claim. And it's really no one's victory. It's no one's victory really at all. The fact that it's taken this long to do this is disgusting, and it should have been done a lot sooner. And you can't take a victory lap and pat yourself on the back for doing something that should have been done ages ago, right? It seems like every step, that's what this mayor does. He's using the fact that now his constituents and the majority of people now realize there's a crisis. He's using it to his own political benefit, right? So that one day when he runs for the next thing, he can say, look what I did in San Jose. There was a crisis and I fucking solved it, right? Well, it could blow up right in your face because you've taken too long to actually do anything about it. And now there's all this backlash to all these things that we're trying to do to solve the problem, right? So you may not even be able to get these things implemented because you've created such a backlash in the community against our unhoused population, right? You've spent so much time riling people up against these folks that now the same folks that you've riled up are going to come out against the policies that you're trying to implement to look good. So it's fucked. I really want it to succeed, and yet I want it to fail all at the same time, just to fuck this guy in the ass. Pardon my French, but because I'm just sick of him claiming credit for shit that he had nothing to do with and in fact opposed, right? That is the worst kind of politician. It's the most disgusting base, but it's also the most common kind of politician. So what am I really complaining about, right? We all know this happens. This is just politics as usual, but it doesn't make it any less disgusting. So I'm off my soapbox.
Well, I hope you're ready, because what you just said there was brilliant, and I'm probably going to clip that out and put it all over the fucking socials.
Yay! I actually tipped off a few folks who I've met through the local scene and campaigns who have nothing to do with our local politics and just wanted to get some good derp to our little endeavor here. So hopefully we'll be getting a few more viewers watching anyway in the future.
So we're pretty much done here, but we do have another thing. Usually it's a animal interest story, but this time it's a plant interest story.
Yeah, urban agriculture is a thing. I think it's a great thing. You've got nonprofits that are teaching folks in quote unquote urban, more dense populated areas, more concrete laden areas, about the beauties of and the ability of that they have to grow fresh produce and food in their own community at their home that they can share with their neighbors and their families, and hopefully overcome the food deserts that we face out there in a lot of these underserved communities. So we're going to find out more about one group that's doing that in the East Bay here.
The clean foods movement is changing the way people view how and where their food is grown. And an agricultural nonprofit in Oakland is concentrating its effort to transform one neighborhood in the small town of El Sobrante. As John Ramos reports, it's helping people turn over a new leaf in more ways than one.
This is the brand new farmers market in El Sobrante, the first one the town has ever had. It's part of a larger effort by an organization to change attitudes about food and people. El Sobrante doesn't usually get a lot of new things. In fact, the town's name actually translates to leftovers. So it seemed like the perfect place for a group called Planting Justice to create a new weekly farmers market.
It was an agricultural community for a long time. So having this come back, there is this sort of welcome, familiar feel.
But Planting Justice's market manager, Sam Lustig, says that's not all that's new here, or rather will be. This property is the former site of the Adachi family nursery, which closed in 2017.
And this was slated to become another gas station and car wash, which is about the last thing this community needs.
Instead, Planting Justice is building a complex called the Good Table that will include a new garden and nursery, and inside a cafe decorated with recycled wood from Castlemont High's old bleacher seats. At the restaurant, people will only be asked to pay what you can. And that spirit extends to the farmers market as well, with vendors being charged no fees to participate. That works well for Hal Stevens as he experiments with his black-eyed pea and portobello mushroom sandwich.
I'm gonna try that. Let's go.
Let's do this.
It's great. It builds your brand and it looks excellent. It makes the community look good.
And anything they can't sell will be purchased by Planting Justice for distribution in its new mobile food truck, or as ingredients for food and baked goods prepared in this soon-to-be commercial kitchen. It's all part of the humanitarian mission of the nonprofit, which is headquartered at this sprawling commercial nursery in East Oakland. Years ago, they sponsored a gardening program inside San Quentin Prison.
That is what let into our reentry program, because folks who had participated in that program were coming out and they had nowhere to go.
So far, the nursery has created more than 165 living wage jobs for people who were formerly incarcerated. People like Simone Robinson.
Coming here and being with the plants, taking care of the plants, watching things grow, inadvertently makes you grow.
It's not really inadvertent at all. If there is a common theme in the endeavor, it's that nothing should be thrown away. Not food, not wood, and certainly not people. And where better to do that than in a place where leftovers can be turned into something new?
I'm still thinking about that portobello mushroom hot dog.
Yeah, that sounded great with black-eyed peas, portobello mushroom. I'm down, and some peppers. And good on that guy. Like, you inadvertently, I love that phrase, you inadvertently grow too, like, right? I knew exactly what she was saying, right? The reporter had to be a dick and call her out for like a poor choice of words, whatever. I think I knew exactly what she was saying. You don't even realize it's happening, but you surround yourself by goodness, and goodness comes out of you. That's really what she's saying. So great on these folks for doing that.
More urban farming, and good on them for not charging anybody for their spot at the farmers market too. Because others will be like other small farms and local growers and whatever will be able to participate as well. So.
Yeah, it's like $2.50 a pop for like a day of like 4 hours just having a booth at some of these markets, and you're not making that kind of money selling your wares, right? Where that you can turn a good decent profit even at a market with that kind of fee. So yeah, great on them. There are some groups we can get, if you want to get into it, folks out there, research, look up Vegilution in San Jose. It's another group that does similar work in our community and helping people grow their own businesses. So definitely check it out. This is a burgeoning endeavor in the nonprofit sphere, and I'm really excited about it.
Very nice. Well, do you want to read the show out? Because I have to pee.
Well, shit, I just like ranted and had that just love. I'm almost out of energy, but I'm going to try my best. Well, thank you very much, Producer Dave, for once again manning the dials for us, and for to all you listener and viewer for coming to see us. We do this every Tuesday night, except when we don't, at 7:30 Pacific, live on Twitch, and then downloadable on all your podcatchers of choice. We really hope that you get vaccinated if you haven't already. Keep that vaccination up to date. Mask up when it's appropriate. Don't need to wear pants. Totally optional. We're going to leave you, as always, with Audible Smoke Signal, and I invite you to tune in to public comment following Down Ballot tonight, where they'll be venturing up to the county of Shasta. I hope you have a wonderful week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to play for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage and rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob.